quite muggy. Don't think it's going to get to my prediction of 24 degrees, let alone Barbara's 27. I thought that was a little bold, I've got to be honest with you. But we are heading that way this summer. I have full faith in that. Thursday, October the 20th, and well, I tell you what, let me do this. That's right. Let me welcome you along to another absolutely elating interview. This one I had been looking forward to, and since I heard the music in the first place, I went, we got to do this. We really do. So welcome to Galaxy. If you're going to watch this a little later on over there on YouTube, you know what to do, right? No, you do. Sub, thumb, bell. Bingo. Bell notifications when we have important people, especially coming out of Australia. Don't get a lot of Australians, so believe me, this man's brave. He is. It's nice to have an Australian along from the band Gen2, believe me. But if you're going to, again, watch a little later on over there, don't forget, thumb us. Get thummy. Thummy, very thummy, literally. Like us a lot, and if you're going to do that, why not subscribe? Become part of the family. Dare ya. It's called The Noise here at Galaxy, and believe me, the noise around the world is growing exponentially every day. We would love to have you on board, we really would. In the meantime, let me tell you how happy we are to be in association with Rise Up TV, Big Records, Sony Music, The Orchard, here with Galaxy.
Another indie artist interview brought to you by galaxy107fm in association with Rise Up TV, Big Record and Sony Music The Orchard.
And I am absolutely wrapped. I've got to be honest with you, Gen2 is in the house, and believe me, this is absolutely fascinating. Check this out. Here's Gen2, their first song, Fire of Love, here at Galaxy. Fantastic. I love this.
We're quite proud of it.
Very, very cool. The EP, Future History Repeating?
Yeah, Future History Repeating Part 1, because it's 2 EPs, so they'll be released over the next 12 months. So we've got the first 2 singles will come out, and then we'll release Part 1 as an EP, Part 2 as a second EP, and then we'll release it as a double EP and a full album set. And we're already working on the second album. The second EP is just about finished, so we're running about a year ahead at the moment, because when we get into touring, obviously getting time to get in the studio and write and do pre-production, that becomes quite difficult. So we'll just do it ahead of time.
Sure, totally get that. Alice Walker is watching. Hello, brother man, nice to have you on board. Alice is a former police officer coming out of the United States. He's with a band called the Southern Outlaws now, and also does a lot of work with Rise Up TV people, with the Big Records people. He does a podcast for them on, I think it's JD on Cat, something like that. Talented man, very talented man.
Excellent.
He's always looking for artists to interview.
Yeah, he's always looking for artists as well to interview. So if you don't mind, we would like to pass you on at some stage.
Oh, well, absolutely, absolutely more than happy. We appreciate the support, because obviously, as you understand, we're at the whole aim of the game is to get as many people liking, streaming, buying, and supporting us, because that's what happens. We appreciate the support, Galaxy107fm, absolutely, and it's good to be getting that to our brothers and sisters in the land of the long white cloud. A place, which is a favourite of ours. We're actually looking forward to touring over there, so hopefully not too far into 2023 we'll get over and do some shows. I think we'll probably go all right.
I tell you what, I would like to talk to you about that a little later on off camera, if that's okay, because Barbara runs an entertainment company that brings bands into the country, tours them up and down. You never know, we might be able to collab on this.
That could be a very good thing.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Anyway.
Now, is my audio all right? Because I've just realised that my audio is coming through my camera and I can't seem to get it back onto my headset. Does it sound okay?
It's fine. We will work with it.
Fine. Yeah.
Now that's what I'm talking about. This is for real music. It really is. Coming out of Australia. Gen2. Absolutely loving it. Let me run down through the band for you. And Zach Rupus is in there with bass. Claudio Ferrante is a guitarist in there. Greg Day is the drums. And today joining us out of the band, Tony Schmidt, the guitarist. Hello, Tony. Welcome to Galaxy.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you this morning, Greg?
Look, I am elated, my friend. I've got to be honest with you, very, very humbled. You've put me in my place because you've chosen us, literally, you've chosen us to release your music to the world. I am absolutely elated with that. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, it's our pleasure. I just think that seems only fitting, you know. Up and coming new international act should have a crack on Galaxy 107 FM. Absolutely.
You know, and I've got to be honest with you, Tony. It is not easy getting not only radio play with us because we have so many bands from around the world really cramming in here, but also to get an interview. Now, it has a process. It goes through a board after, you know, Barbara produces, sends it off there. And their only concern, and it could be 8 or 12 in the board at any given meeting, their concern literally is it's got to be good. It's our image that we're putting out there, you know what I mean? So we don't choose a lot of bands. We only choose just the cream off the top. Then Barbara sort of has to work it out because we've only got a certain amount of time in the week to be able to do these. So, you know, it goes to production, and Barbara sort of work it out. Then it comes to me. Now, this is fantastic because Barbara hands it to me on a sort of a USB device that I play in my car. It's a, a Bluetooth thing. And because I've got a kick-ass stereo in my car. You know,
as you do.
Thing is, you see what it is, and I get no information. I just get the music. I don't know who the band is, what the name of the band is, what the title of the track, nothing. Just the music. And that gives me the chance to decide whether or not I want to do the interview, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first reason. The second reason is, well, you know, nobody else can make me decide that, but nobody else also wants to drive with me.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. Well, you see, we're in Kawerau, in between Whakatane, Tauranga and Rotorua, little milling village in here. And, well, I know where they keep the keys and the locks for the fire breaks, you know what I mean? So
nice.
I crank up the stereo and drive fast.
Yeah.
Crazy thing about this, and this is real, Barbara's son is a former New Zealand car racing champion, goes sideways, right?
Yeah.
And still does. Literally every race season, you can see him out there going sideways. Her grandson is a current New Zealand champion, goes sideways.
Wow.
Barbara won't get in the car with me. I mean, what is up with that? I mean, seriously, come on. But now, I digress because today, believe me, absolutely love this. It was the first track I heard in my car when I heard of the band Gen2, Love of Fire. Now, Tony, tell me all about this. This is a fantastic track.
Well, look, it's the first track that we're releasing off this. So we have a crop of songs, which originally was going to be one album, and it's actually now being put out as 2 EPs over the next 12 months, and we'll pull singles as we go. And Fire of Love was the first choice because we're a slightly unique band in the fact that we have I sing lead vocals and play guitar, but also play lead guitar. But then we have Zach Rufus, who plays bass extraordinarily well and also sings lead vocals. And then we've got Claude, who plays lead guitar and sings backing vocals, and Greg, who plays drums and does backing vocals. So it's kind of unique in the fact that with 2 lead guitarists and 2 lead singers in the band, we get along very well. We chose Fire of Love because it's one of our more full-on tracks. It's we like it as a track, but it also features both of us on lead vocals. So I sing the verses coming in, and then the chorus is Zach on vocals, and then everybody on backing vocals. So we figured that that's a good way to do it. And then as we come up, we're trying to balance things out with like the singles. The next single, which is out next Monday, Royals, which I believe you're going to play in a little while. That's Zach on backing vocal. Zach on lead vocals, and the rest of us on backing vocals to get that kind of Queen Muse vibe going on. And so we kind of pride ourselves on the fact that we've got a bit of diversity within the band. So that just seemed to be a really good song to put out first, where we've got everybody having a real feature role in it, rather than being the Tony show or the Zach show or the Claude show. It's just like we're considering the type of band we are and the type of music we play. We've been together since 2016, and touch wood, there's never been an argument. We just don't fight with each other. It's just like, it just works like magic. It's that kind of thing like that. And everybody goes, right, we're loving it. The band is definitely bigger than the sum of its parts, and that's the way we treat it. And it seems to deliver on, on vinyl or CD or streaming or however you want to listen to it. Pulls it up pretty well.
And I've got to be honest with you, Tony, I am absolutely loving Gen2. I really, really am. I've been an engineer for almost 40 years, and I've worked with not only some of the best recording studios here in New Zealand and around the world, and including Australia, but I've worked with some of the best musicians around the world as well, and been a front of house engineer, travelled with a number of Australian bands too, by the way, over the years. And I've got to be honest with you, and I really must be honest with you, when I very first heard Royals, a band called The Stranglers back in the day, kind of gave me that feel, how it was. Do you remember The Stranglers?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of work in the UK and US through the 80s and early 90s until I settled down for a while. I raised our kids with my wife. Now I'm back at it again. But yeah, the Stranglers, and they had that sort of crossover. They always looked like they were going to be way heavier than they really were. But then they had this kind of like underlying almost classical vibe in some stuff, and then there's an underlying jazz vibe in some of their stuff, and then they were just fully outrageous on stage, just pop out the stage with the kid off and away they go. We don't do the kid off thing though. The world does not need to see that.
Well, I tell you what, and you might be interested in this. Back in the day, I was working with a band called The Angels that we did the curtain raiser for the Stranglers, a bit of Skin Deep back in those days, if you know what I mean. So, and I think that's where Skin Deep came from.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
But having said that, I also was working with a man who came to New Zealand once and played at a place called Western Springs. He had a glass spider tour, literally, and
I actually was lucky enough to be involved with that tour here in Australia at the Kooyong Tennis Club here in Melbourne. An amazing concert.
Being an engineer, I got the job. Literally, the boss threw me the keys and says, "Go to the train station and pick him up." I went, "Pardon? Train station? Why?"
Did you look and go, I've got to see if I'm doing anything else?
Yeah, well, no, the thing literally was this. He didn't want to fly. And he was coming from Wellington, got on a train, literally, So I took a couple of pretty girls and myself, and we hopped in this very expensive car and went down to the train station to pick him up. And while we were there, everybody's asking the girls, what's going on? They're wearing all of this flash stuff, and all of a sudden they would sit there and go, "Oh, we're here meeting David Bowie." Before you know it, paparazzi I don't know how the heck that happened, but there was paparazzi everywhere.
Probably management. They like to tip people off and go, "Make sure paparazzi's everywhere, will you?"
Believe me, it really was. Terry Van Cannon's joining us, coming out of North Carolina. Are you home, brother man? Now, Terry is, what I got to be honest with you, Tony, he is a master of slide steel. Absolute master, this man. And I couldn't speak higher of him. Just having said that, he's been away in Mexico. His wife owns a farm up there, and they grow pumpkins. Of course, they're coming into Halloween very shortly. And this man supplies a good portion of the United States. You can imagine how many pumpkins he's had to pick. Hello, pumpkin.
This will be his busy month then, will it?
More than a month, it really has been. It's nice to have him back. Michael King is joining us as well. Nice to have Michael back. Now, my friend, I want to talk about Future History Repeating, Part 1. How did you come to the name of this?
I woke up in the middle of the night. Actually, what happened is, so I co-produced this album or this series of music with Chris Gatz here in Melbourne, and our aim was to make sure that it didn't sound like the whole aim was to move for this really commercial, sort of polished American UK type vibe. We were actually going to master it at Abbey Road, and I went and had some pre-meetings at Abbey Road with the head of mastering over there. Then COVID hit, so that was a complete disaster. So we thought, right, well, we licensed a bunch of algorithms and decided we can't go to the mountain, we'll bring the mountain to us. Future History Repeating, I sort of like, two members, the reason, I'll sidetrack a little bit. Gen2 is called Gen2 because there's two generations. So Zach and Claude are both younger, and Greg and I, we're best mates, and I'm older than dirt. So, like in some universes, I believe I'm actually older than the universe, but it doesn't matter. Now, a lot of musicians around my vintage are going back to what they did, and they're basically just, sort of touring what they did and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great nostalgia, but I thought, I was kind of a hired gun, so I didn't really have my own stuff to go back to. So I thought, well, let's do something new, because, in the rock sphere, I thought, well, we could probably deliver something that people might like. And so it was a case of, all right, let's have a look at this. Well, everything old is new again, that whole thing. And as I was writing, I thought of future history repeating. Now, if anyone goes to the Gen2 Facebook page or go to our, which is Gen2 Music, so Facebook Gen2 Music, or goes to our YouTube channel Gen2 Music, you'll see the logo for Future History Repeating, and there's animated versions of it. And it's an arrow that goes from left to right, and then there's another arrow underneath that goes from right to left, and then there's a circle, and the circle's got an arrowhead on it. So that's future history repeating, right? And so I kind of like iconography. If I could say it properly, that would be good. I just think it's a great way to associate, words with images quickly. The image for future history repeating, it's one of those bizarre things that you tend to hear about and go, oh yeah, well, I wish that would happen to me. I woke up seriously at 2:30 in the morning and went, I know what the album cover needs to look like. And I came into my office, I have my office at home, and I just sketched it at 2:30 in the morning, put it there, that's it. And I went to the studio the next day and went, Chris, have a look at this. And he's like, that's perfect. I went, I thought so. And away we went. And so that's where it all came from. It's like, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You need to do new things. I don't want to rehash anything I've done from the 80s. And in fact, I've found that a lot of 80s stuff sounds quite dated. And we've actually made stuff sound more modern by actually dragging it back into the mid to late 70s, sort of like rather than, look, I did a lot of hired gun stuff in the 80s, so it was like, how many notes can I possibly jam into this little package? And I do something and people are like, can you play a little bit more? What about some of the two-handed tapping? You can play all of that. But what does it really say? Back then it was a thing, but I found it's dated really quickly. So during COVID, I sort of had a look and went, okay, what kind of music's really stuck around? What's the music that you will play now? And there's reasons why the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and the Stones and all of these classic acts, there's reasons why you can drop the needle on any of their stuff. And I'll use the old term drop the needle because vinyl with that is king, right? Or Queen, whichever, or even bands like Queen. There's a reason you can listen to that stuff now and it sounds as good today as it did when it was released. And when people put posts up on social media and go, oh, it's 50 years ago today that this came out, you go, nah, it never was, rubbish. All right? And you listen to it and you go, it's excellent. And may I say, that is why most of the dance music, or what they call R&B now, which I have a problem with because R&B to me is Wilson Pickett and stuff like that. So, but there's a reason why they take samples of those awesome pieces of music and throw them in as a hook, right? We thought, well, okay, we're not going to sample stuff. We're actually going to write new stuff that delivers the hook and does it all. And we don't do it formulaically. We do it in a natural way that songs were written back in the 70s and back in the 80s and in the 90s when bands got together and wrote songs rather than sat with a computer and produced things and shuffled them around till they got what they want. So we're quite... And having the young guys with us, it really brings... Our whole thing is, the 2 generations, 1 aim. Right? The aim is like good, solid music. So we've got the funk undertones. So people go, oh, that track's a bit sort of Chili Peppers, and you go, well, yeah, it's great funky bass because Zach Rufus can tear a bass up like it's free. And then we've got 2 guitars, so that some of our tracks have the dual guitar lines, and rather than just plugging into a box of tricks and getting a 3rd and a 5th and an octave down, we actually play those lines together, and that means we can do it live as well. And Greg just drums out of the box. He doesn't overdrum, but he does an underdrum. It's not relentless, double kick and 16ths on the snare. It's we write the music and craft it in the way that we think music is best crafted. In fact, I've got to refer to a quote from Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley from Kiss when they were asked about why Kiss is the way it is in I think about 1981 when they first toured Australia and New Zealand. They were asked the question, why all of this? And they said exactly what I say about Gen2. We want to be the band that I would pay money to go and see.
I've actually worked with Gene Simmons and Kiss here in New Zealand.
Nice.
Back in the day, we were Mount Smart Supertop. Literally, I was an engineer there. And I've got a story about a tongue about that. I really do. Lisa Saunders is joining us. Hello, darling. Nice to have you on board. This is one of the executives from Rise Up TV, and Big Records is watching right now, so it's nice to have her on board. Now, you preempted me about the name, how you came to the name, but Rachel, coming out of Alberta, Canada, is asking, Tony, as a fan, how do we get hold of you? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Are you a talker? Are you a Twitter? But more importantly, Tony, do you respond?
We certainly do. Look, we have a beautiful fan base on Facebook. We've got about 12,500 fans on Facebook, and we've got quite a few fans on Insta. So basically, if you go to Facebook, it's facebook.com/Gen2 Music, GEN, the number 2 music, all as one word. On LinkedIn, on Spotify, it's Gen2 _music because someone got our thing. But I think we actually now own both. We do have a TikTok channel. We're sort of coming into TikTok now because, the guys are like, we need to get some TikTok going. It's like, let's finish the album first and then do that. And on YouTube, if you do youtube.com/Gen2 Music, all is one word, GEN2 Music, you'll find us. And importantly, when it comes to all the streaming services, as of Monday, we'll be able to put up Gen2 Royals, and you'll see our single, which is the first one out through Golden Robot Records, and you'll see Fire of Love on there as well. And as we go, we'll start the streaming thing.
Very, very cool, Tony. Now, believe me, I want to talk about Royals very, very shortly. But Patricia coming out of Minnesota is saying, Tony, how can I buy some product? Do you have a merch store on your website?
We don't have a merch store yet. Again with this, we're very specific about the way in which we're doing things. We wanted product first. So many bands come through and the first thing they do is they get a name, they get a logo, they get a t-shirt, right? So we thought, no, guess what? We'll do the music, right? So, we've got a team, because our graphics, we have a very good graphics team. So basically now we're developing, and there's a whole line of merch which is being developed as I speak. And I should say by about halfway through November, there'll be a range of merch which will be available. There's band logos, futures are repeating. There's stuff that's coming up. So trust me. Also, I went to the Gen2 School of Marketing. Why sell you one t-shirt when I can sell you 5?
Exactly. Well, I tell you what, when you do get a t-shirt, how would you like to pass one on to me? Now, I got to be honest with you, it's subliminal, but it works. It really does.
You'll get one.
usually I'm wearing a band's logo, literally. And people, while they're watching these interviews, are on the interwebby thing and having a look at where they can purchase some products. So believe me, it does work. And I've
got my DK Alloy Guitars t-shirt. These guys sponsor me. Yeah, you might notice in the film clip for Fire of Love, if you look at it on YouTube, I play quite a unique style of guitar. It's from aluminium alloy, and including the neck. So they sponsor me. So I've got a nice collection of those too.
Love it, absolutely love it. And well, now they're going to have to give you another one just for that plug. There you go. Now, having said that, my friend, and as I was mentioning before, I actually know the guy who did the original of this particular track, and I've spoken to him a couple of times over the years. I've got to be honest. I first met him when he did a concert called Station to Station in Germany back in the day, and then of course I worked with him in Auckland at Western Springs doing the Glass Spider tour. We're talking about David Bowie. Now, what possessed you to do Heroes? This is a fantastic version of it. How did you come to this?
Thank you for saying that, because I like the most important thing for us is, look, we do original songs, but in this day and age, you really find to get the listeners, we need to do a couple of songs that people know, so they get listeners. Oh, I know this song. The next thing is do a version of the song that doesn't make go, oh my God, someone did this to that song, right? So that was really important. For me, I've been a Bowie fan since about age, I don't know, 7 or 8. In fact, Space Oddity was the first song that I ever sang solo in front of an audience for payment, and I must have been about I think about 10 years of age, and they opened a new pizza store, not far from my home in Adelaide where I was growing up. And so I went there, and they had, TV celebs and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, well, who wants to, get free pizza? And of course, being 10-year-old show off, I'll do that. And I said, what do you want to do? Do you want to tell us a joke or sing a song? I went, I'll sing a song. And the look on everyone's face when I came out with ground control to Major Tom, and they just sat there and they just started clapping in time. So I sung, Space Oddity was the first song I ever sang, and since then I've loved Bowie. And when this version of Heroes was was a version that I did sort of like that with a band when I was guesting with this band in Melbourne when I'd come back from working overseas. And we took it further and did that, and then Claude came up with that beautiful, all of the keyboard and orchestral lines that you hear, they're all actually played live on a guitar. He just got this great harmonic reverb in it, and it just goes through, and he played it and we re-recorded his guitar lines when he bought this effect. I'm like, this needs to go on there, and so we can do it live too. And I think just in the middle of our show where it sits, it's one of those things. There's a nice, there's a 1 minute musical interlude beforehand where Zach does a beautiful bass solo and Claude does a lot of harmonic work, and it gives me a chance to duck off and change guitars and just take a breath and calm down, because you can't come flying into that song. And it's a really interesting song to play live, because we take a lot of pride in playing live like we do on the album, right? So when we get to the end of the song, it's one of those songs where it just builds and builds and builds, as you know, and then by the time you get there, and then it stops. And this is a song where there is always 3 to 5 seconds of dead silence before the room goes bananas at the end. It's quite satisfying, you know, and then you know, right, we got you. That's it. You're in the pocket, you know. We want people to, when you come and see Gen2, we want you to come and do what you do when you go and see the Glass Spider tour. You don't think about anything else except what you're seeing, what you're doing. That's what it's about.
You know, Tony, I fully understand. I really, really do. I've spent many, many years not only working on stage, but working around artists, around being an engineer as well. And I got to be honest with you, as a recording engineer, I don't listen to music, well, actually as a DJ as well, like fans would listen to it. I kind of try and break it down and figure out how it is done. This is a fantastic piece of work. It really is. Check it out. I recommend it. Gen2, here's Heroes. God, it's hot in here.
I'm so glad that you like this version, you know, especially seeing as you got to work with Bowie. I'm very, you know, very proud of this. It took us a long time to do, but we're kind of proud of the fact that we can get up on stage and deliver this the way it goes too. I think that's probably the thing that shocks most people.
Well, I've got to be honest with you, Tony. I've been as much in the music industry here in New Zealand as I have in Australia. And I've worked with some huge names in Australia. You might recognise some of them, like Dragon, for instance, back in the day. I worked with them. I also worked with Jimmy Barnes way back in the day.
Love Barnesy.
Him and Johnny Farnham. I heard Johnny's not too well these days.
Yeah, no, John's not particularly well at the moment. No, he's recovering from. They removed a tumour in his mouth, so so we're all kind of hoping for the best, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Our love goes out to Johnny. It really does.
Absolutely.
Also, you might recognise a couple of bands with about 3 or 4 letters to them.
Right.
There's a couple of those. You know, one starts with I and ends in X, and one starts with A and ends on. In fact, the former founder and lead singer of the band AC/DC is still a very close friend of ours.
Dave?
Yeah. He comes along every now and again, gives me a bit of stick. You know what it's like.
Yeah, can't imagine Dave giving anyone stick.
Oh, believe me, we got that kind of relationship.
Character theme, isn't it?
Yeah, we have that kind of relationship. He's really a hard case, I've got to be honest with you. We love Dave. Yeah. We do. But yeah, I've worked with some of the more prestigious bands. I've been very fortunate, you know what I mean, in my career, to be able to have these people not only waltz through my front door and go, hey, I want to get recorded, but later go and work with them live, you know. So absolutely loving it.
Well, that means a lot to me that you then, you know, like the production of it, because the production for us was very important. When Chris and I first had our first production meetings about this, I came in and said, okay, I have an audio profile which I want to follow, and the audio profile is it was actually the Chickenfoot's album, Chickenfoot 3, which is their second album. There's something about the way the bass is in the pocket, the drums are in the pocket, the guitars are in the pocket, the vocals are in the pocket. I'm like, this is the audio profile. And so we took that as the runner, and away we went.
Tony, let's go back to the desk, my friend.
No dramas.
Established in Australia 2016, these guys are going leaps and bounds, and believe me, now that the COVID thing is sort of, believe me, concerts are happening, and I think coming into the summertime it's going to be a busy time for Gen2. You literally, have you got any concerts planned for this summer season?
We're just about to actually do our first show back. So like the last 2 years has been an absolute nightmare. The 29th of February 2020, we played a charity show here in Kilmore for the local CFA, the Fireys here, and raised a couple of grand for them. We had shows booked and ready to go in Adelaide, in Alice Springs, up in the snowfields, the whole, everything got cancelled, like, down, that's it. Since then, we played one show on Easter Sunday last year, right? And then everything got cancelled again. So our first show back, and so realistically, we're hoping from here now we just go forward at a rate of knots, is actually on Sunday, November the 6th. So it's coming up in 2 Sundays' time, and we're moving. We're doing a Sunday sesh at the Bendigo Hotel here in Collingwood, Melbourne, which is a really well-renowned sort of rock pub. So we're on with a couple of bands. Silent K Band is supporting us, as is Brando Rising. Both really great bands in their own rights. So it's going to be a cracker of an afternoon. That's our first show back, and now our management is out now, just like getting out and about and around the place. So we're starting to move out and get back into the live space, and we're good to go. So. We're well excited about in the next 12 to 18 months to be very, very busy indeed.
That is really, really cool, Tony. It really is, because it means that life is coming back to some sort of normalcy, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've got to get people back out and about. I think there's still that battling thing, but it's starting to wane fairly quickly about people going, I don't know, do I want to go out and hang out with other people? It's like, well, yeah, you really do, and you really need to come along, and you really need to buy a ticket, buy a shirt, buy a drink, support the pubs, support the band. Really away we go, and just forget about life for a while. This is the whole thing. You come and see us, and we've got some fairly hard and fast rules in terms of when we play. So we don't play places where there's TVs on and other stuff going on, and the old thing at my table 42, your chicken parmigiana is ready. You wouldn't hear it anyway. So we're not one of those. The whole thing of live music, and all live music on Sunday, you walk in and there's someone in the corner with a guitar strumming, some songs and just sort of singing and maybe doing anything of a job from horrible to excellent, but you can't really tell because everybody's just chatting away, and it's like you might as well just have a radio on in the corner, no offence, but we're a live act in the true sense of live act. Is like, okay, we're going to see this band, and what you're going to be doing while the band's on is looking at the band and dancing and screaming along to the songs and having a great time, because I think that's what people need. They need that chance to step out of life for a while and go, all right, whether we're on for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or even if we're supporting a bigger band, the idea is that if you go to see a band and we're supporting that act, we want to make sure that you have an awesome time from second to one. Because we're kind of egotistical. We believe that if you come in and you to see someone else and we're on the bill, you're going to like us.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe me, I know what you're talking about. In fact, I really would like to introduce you to a friend of mine over in the UK. His band is the Heartland Roots Band. These guys, same attitude, same quality. They were doing 7,000 people the other night. You know what I mean? So believe me,
Nice.
These guys are quality bands, and I'd love to be able to get you, if you ever go over to Leicester or over that way, believe me, you'd have an absolute ball over there. You really would. Having said that, Jim Buffett, nice to have you on board, Jim. It's nice to have you back again. Franco Nanucci's joining us. Hello, brother man. Nice to have you back as well. Looking forward to seeing all the video, everything that's happening out of India with the IIFM concert over there. Believe me, absolutely fantastic. Charisse D'Souza's going to be there. Anselm's going to be there. Rock Flowers is going to be there. And, of course, Lazy J is going to be performing as well. Fantastic. Looking forward to that. Having said that, Tony, believe me, I am absolutely elated with your choices and the quality of work. Now, where are you getting this recorded?
We're recording this here in Melbourne, so we're recording it at GM Sound Studios in Melbourne, and look, it's a smaller studio, but we like to think that once this gets out and about, and we're already finding that the demand is going through the roof for the studio, as well as dare I say, for Chris and I have already been approached to co-produce another couple of projects. Obviously, we're focusing on Gen2 because this is what takes the time. So we're already starting we're finalising post-production on the last track for Future History Repeating Part 2, and we're already looking at starting up pre-production for the next album. So it's busy times, but basically, we've got all of the tech that we need, and you'll notice we're kind of proud of the fact this is like there's no auto tuning and stuff like this. This is a traditional album. I think each track really runs usually around about for the audio nerds. Each track usually runs about anywhere between 72 and 80 tracks. And we run, generally around about 30 to 36, buses for layered stuff. And honestly, if we had to build a room to do this on an old style desk, we'd have to knock one of the studio walls out and extend the room by 20 feet and get 5 more people in there to run the faders. It's so that we like to think we're using the technology that's available for the right reasons. Not to sort of fake it up, but just to actually do all the things that, as an engineer, you would love to have been able to have just one more bus just to put that little bit of reverb, just on that bit, just there. Yeah.
Tony, you've only just met me, but already you know me too well. I've got to be honest with you. But now, this is fascinating because I know Lord. I know him very, very well. In fact...
I'd be very interested to know what she thinks of this version.
Let me tell you right now, she loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played it to her the other day. I actually put it in an email and sent it to her, and she came back to me and she goes, Grant, this is absolutely fantastic. I love this. Who are these guys? I says, well, they're going to be friends of mine. Literally, I did say that to her. She goes, I'm honoured that somebody would take Royals and put their own little bit of themselves on it. And believe me, this is a great piece of work. Now tell me, why did you guys choose Royals?
When Zach and I first got together, it would have been 8 years ago. So at that time, he was 17 at the time. And we were just getting jamming at my place out in Kilmore, my old place, and we were just sort of getting a vibe for how things were going, and we were sort of thinking, we should do a few covers. And I said, Royals, that's a really interesting song. And he said, yeah, I love that song. And he came up with that bass line. And I was like, this is a whole different approach. And I liked the fact that it had that kind of smooth, and then it got to the chorus and I could really sort of just pull up some power chords, and I'd do a couple of harmonics in there, and then he was singing it, and I loved the way he sang it, and then we worked out the backing vocals, and we did the finishing touches on this song. This is one of those songs that just took ages to actually get to where it was. We did the finishing touches on that song about 8 weeks ago. And what had happened is we were really happy with everything, and I sent it to a good friend of mine, and I said, what do you think of this? He said, well, for a start, let me tell you, Lord's version of the song is one of my favourite songs, not one of a group, it's one of my all-time favourite songs. I went, right, okay, well then you're the right person to listen to this. He went, I'm kind of missing that da 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 da. There's a layered harmony that she does, and that's just beautiful and it's perfect. But she's also got a crystal voice, and she's female, so it means her voice is in a different region. And I'm like, yeah, that can't happen. So a friend of mine said, well, you can do that on guitar, right? So when you listen to the single, or there's two versions, we did a radio edit because a lot of radio stations won't play anything that goes more than 3 minutes 50, so we cut it to 3:50. But the full version as well, you'll hear that just twice at the end of that, you'll hear a very familiar sounding guitar harmony, and it was specifically crafted for this song, and we went, that's it, that's what it needed. so we've managed to keep her beautiful harmonies there, but we can't deliver them vocally, so we delivered them instrumentally, and it seems to have worked.
Let me tell you, Tony, you've got the royal stamp of approval from Lord herself. She loves it. 4 minutes 51 here at Galaxy. Here's Gen2 and Royal. I kid you not, she loved it.
Mate, you know what? If you could ever organise a private, would never get published, email from her to her management, I would love to pass that to Zach, because I reckon that would make him cry.
We can't have a crying Australia, come on.
We can.
When does that ever happen? Come
Ever
on.
heard of the blood is like cup?
Oh, yeah, well,
Oh, yes, well.
yeah, I have actually.
Crying Australians all the time.
I was not going to pick on you guys, come on.
I know you don't need to. Hey, well, if that, I'm going to take your word of that, and that's just absolutely made my year, mate. That's actually more than that, because I reckon you probably know how passionate I am, and that passion's repeated through the 4 members of the band, and indeed our management. That means the world to us.
Well,
that she thinks that's a good version.
I tell you what, I'll do you a deal, Tony.
Yep.
I'll pass this video on to Lord and see what she does. If she gets in contact with me and says, all right, Grant, I will do that, then you're in, okay?
Well, it will be not for publication. I don't really want to, sort of leverage anything out of that. I think Zach, who sings this song, has done such an incredible job of it. I'm over the moon because, I helped arrange it and I co-produced it with Chris. But I think that would just a little note saying, I really love your version of my song. It would just make Zach's life.
I get where you're coming
from. He
deserves
it. He's such a top bloke, and he's done such a brilliant job of the vocals on it. It's just beautiful.
I get where you're coming from, Tony. Unfortunately,
and absolutely not to be leveraged in any way whatsoever. It won't turn up on socials or anything like that.
Exactly. But unfortunately, you see, I have a rule that I don't hawk my friends. You know what I mean? And
I absolutely get that, and that's why I'm sort of saying it this discreet way. That would have to be full discretion assured. Either that, or she can just come and see us live one day quietly undercover while we're playing in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I said what I'll do is I'll pass the video over, and if she sees this particular part, then she can get hold of Barbara and say, okay, I want to do that. You know what I mean?
No,
because we are good friends as well, and I respect her privacy as much as everything else.
I get that. I'm friends with a lot of. I was a hired gun for the closer part of 8 years in the UK and the US, and have appeared on numerous albums that will never be credited with my name because I had my rights bought out. I was filling in for people who ended up in rehab. Because you remember the days when people went to rehab and it wasn't something to make a TV show about. You hid it because you thought it might cost you $250,000 album sales.
Exactly.
I was one of the guys they used to ring and go, can you come over here and just finish this album for us? I've done a lot of that.
Yeah, believe me, I've done similar stuff. I really had my break.
Yeah, well, you know it rolls, yeah.
Oh, believe me. Having said that, you will get a copy of everything we do today.
Thanks, mate.
When we finish this, don't go anywhere too quickly because the girls want to take some photos, stuff like that. Barbara puts it all together in a movie. You'll get a copy of that. I suggest show people you don't like.
Good on you. Hey, listen, just one more thing. With Heroes, after today, if you could just shelve Heroes, because I don't want to annoy our record company. They want to sort of keep it under wraps until it comes out. We just, it's just like, yeah, that's fine, done. Just
Gotcha.
Royals would be the thing. Thanks.
Gotcha. No worries.
So the guitar line.
Absolutely speechless. I love that version. I really, really do. And today we're talking to Tony, coming out of the band Gen2, Melbourne. And it's an absolute pleasure for a change to talk to our cousins across the ditch. Not everybody in Australia, in America and also in Canada, England, places like that. We don't get enough Australians. We really, really don't. So it's an absolute pleasure to have an Australian in the house when we can manage to get one, especially one of this calibre. Now, Tony, I've really, really got to ask you, and I realise the importance of our heroes, but it's a little sneaky peek for our fans that we don't call fans. We actually call them the noise. But very, very shortly, I'm getting an idea somewhere along the way. You're going to be releasing a bit of an EP album kind of thing. Any idea when that's going to happen?
So we've got we've just signed with Golden Robot, right? So the plan is that over the next 12 months we'll release single EP, single EP, right? So you're actually way ahead of the curve, and that's for the noise, that'll be the first and last time I hear Heroes for a while, because that's actually on Future History Repeating Part 2. So, but it was a bit of a special treat, sneak preview. So we've got obviously Royals, and Royals is our big focus going through the remainder of this year. We because we don't consider the music disposable like a lot of music. We don't put out a single and then do another one a week later, etc., etc. So in the new year we'll be releasing the second single, and then shortly thereafter, I should imagine, we'll be doing Future History Repeating Part 1. And that will be followed by another single, Future History Repeating Part 2. And what we're going to do as we go along is, as the EPs come out, they'll be available on vinyl, they'll be available on CD, because we sort of play into that crowd as well. Our demographic's quite wide. It runs from, teenagers through to anybody who really, just likes music. Gigs are hilarious. We kind of band with a bit for everybody. The younger guys get the younger girl fans, and I have the estrogen brigade.
Welcome to my world.
And what we'll do is we'll do when Future History Repeating Part 2 comes out too, we intend to release it, as I'm a big fan of, you're of that same era, being able to sit there with a gatefold album jacket with liner notes and bits and pieces and photos and the story and the whole lot. So we'll release that as a special limited edition double EP as well, Part 1 and Part 2, and that should go fairly well.
Now, I got to be honest with you, Tony. I am a little restricted for time at the moment. We have to move on with the other guys in the other studios, but just one more question. Will you come back again? Will you let me know when I can do this with Heroes and or any other music? Will you pass it to us? Can we do this?
Yeah, absolutely can. And you won't even have to wait till the new year if you want to repeat some stuff and have a look at Royals and see how we're going. And hopefully we should be able to talk about maybe coming across the ditch and doing a couple of shows in New Zealand early in 2023.
Yeah, but I got to be honest with you, Tony. If you're going to hook up with me here in New Zealand, bail money.
I've got connections. We'll be right.
Awesome, mate. I'll get us together with Peter Jackson. You never know what we can come up with.
Excellent. I've always wanted to have weird-looking feet.
Yeah, me too, Mr. Bigfoot. He's on the New Zealand rich list right now, Mr. Peter
I'm not
Jackson.
surprised.
Yeah, but I know how he got there. I don't.
Yeah.
Look, honestly, my bro, I went to university with the man. He was the guy that would drink your beer, but you get to pay for something, he's gone.
Well, you should hit him up for a shout. I reckon it'd be a fairly good shout by now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I got to be honest, the very first time I ever flew into Sydney, I went straight to a pub. I went, please, Mr. Barman, can you give me a beer? He gave me something with 4 X's on it, and I went, what, you can't spell beer? Serious? I did.
Good work.
Got to be honest with you, favourite drop, Foster's.
Really?
Yeah, you're not a Foster's guy? Are you?
I'm a craft beer, and I won't give you the last word, but it rhymes with anchor. I like my craft beer.
Okay, that's going to be interesting because, believe me, if I'm over that way, I'm going to expect that you introduce me to some of this.
We've got plenty of good breweries around here.
And believe me, the last time I got sissy-faced over in Australia, it was in a pub called Igamoga.
Oh, Enamonga.
Yeah, that was the last...
I don't even know whether that's a pub anymore, actually.
Isn't it?
No, it's up on the border, Old Wodonga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know whether it's a thing anymore. I haven't been there for, ever.
Here's something for you. You may find it rather interesting. I was travelling with a guy on a B train and we had to drop on by that way. So he says, we'll go to the Igamoga pub. Now, I knew of it, of course, being a cartoon in the Australian Post back in the day. But I've never been there. So I thought, this is going to be great. Going to love it. It was the night that a band called Silverchair brought out a song called Frog Stomp. And we were enjoying that. And as we were leaving the pub, as you know where it is, it's a very dry area around there.
Yeah.
It was raining frogs.
Really?
Seriously, what had happened is somewhere along the way, this had sucked up all of these frogs out of this lake. And as it toured across Australia, it got cooler and cooler, and suddenly we're coming out to Silverchair's music, getting splattered in the face with cane toads.
That's got to be the best album launch ever.
I couldn't recreate that or sell it to Silverchair if I tried, believe me, my friend. But true deal, that really happened.
Nice. How are we going to launch royals? Who are we going to drop out of the sky?
Well, here's one for you, and I'm rather worried about this. Of course, your capital is in Canberra, right?
It is.
They're a little worried right now because Queensland is in turmoil, I've heard.
Is it?
Yeah, well, they're trying to figure out now, are they going to be called Kingsland?
Good on you. Nice, boom tish.
I'll leave you with that one, but please don't go anywhere, Tony. We're going to do a couple of things next. But let me tell you, folks, how happy we are to be in association with Rise Up TV. Big Record, Sony Music, The Orchard, here with Galaxy.
Another indie artist interview brought to you by Galaxy 107 FM in association with Rise Up TV, Big Record and Sony Music The Orchard.